Well, hey, welcome back. This is the two-car garage, and just wanted to let you know I'm still alive. I know it's been a long time since we've uploaded anything, but frankly, it's just been crazy busy around here. I've got Kurt's bug in the works. We're still working on that. I had to do some work on my '55 Chevy. I've got another upcoming project that we did a whole bunch of work on, and you'll see that probably sometime in September before we are able to get that one uploaded. And then I've got a couple other things in the works, and it's just been ridiculous. Now, just keep in mind, I've been working. I just haven't had a lot of time for any recording, especially haven't had any time for any kind of video editing. But I figured now would be as good a time as any to throw one out there, let you know I'm still around, and kind of show you the stuff we've been working on. I think most of my viewers are probably around because of Kurt's bug, so I figured we might as well start there and show you what's been going on. So over here, what we've got is well, it doesn't look like much right now, and that's because I've been working so hard on this thing. What I've really kind of taken a lot of time here to do is get all the wiring sorted. I had initially purchased a wiring harness that I thought was going to work, and then we had some issues with fitment here. And let me pull this front panel off, and I'll show you what's going on. So with this panel out of the way, you can see all of what we've got cooking here. And there's a lot, let me tell you. This here, right in the center, is actually going to be our fuse panel. I had a separate fuse panel, but I just don't have any space in there for this. And what this is a fuse panel as well as a relay panel. And most of the important stuff on the vehicle is going to be run off of relays. When I get this all wrapped up, I'll throw out a video dedicated to just the wiring and show you what's going on. But for now, I can kind of show you all the stuff we had to pack in here. So again, this is our fuse panel and relay panel, and that's all had to be wired from scratch. Over here on the glove box, what I actually have going on here is this is an aftermarket glove box that has the notch in it for a radio. And we're not using it necessarily for that. Now, we are going to have the control for the radio in there, but it's just a small little display screen. But I've got a couple of switches that are going to be hidden over here, accessible from the inside. But then all of these boxes you see in here, these are for all of our newer electronics. So like right here, these are actually the window controllers. So that controls the one-touch power windows. Back here we've got the control module for the power door locks, and then right on top of that here is the control module for the remote system. And that remote system is connected to both the door locks and to the windows, so I can roll the windows down as well as unlock the doors just using a remote. All of that needed a place to be tucked away, and this seemed like the perfect spot. And then you can't see right now where the amplifier control is going to be. You know, some other things I tucked away down here. I know this is really probably hard to see, but I've got a USB power port here, so Kurt can charge his phone and run other accessories on USB. And I have an additional 12-volt cigarette lighter right here. So again, if he has an accessory that doesn't use USB, he still has an extra place to plug in a cigarette lighter. So that's going on here. Over on the driver's side is where the real mess happens. What you'll see, all of this is actually for the air ride. And I know it doesn't look pretty, and there's a whole lot of connections going on there, but because of putting the gauges where I put them, I changed up how I mounted the switches. This kind of ended up being a necessity. Later on, I'm going to see if maybe I can't clean things up a little bit, but I think that's kind of going to be what the end result is. But you can see that's a lot of stuff packed into this corner here, just for the air control. And then I do have the speedometer in place, and when I redid the speedometer and all the gauges, I went ahead and added a bunch of plugs to power up all the lights. And boy, am I glad I did, because now with everything installed, it's near impossible to reach your hand back there and try to plug things in. I think really the last thing to show you then here is this box right here. This box is actually going to be a headlight warning buzzer. And Kurt is notorious for leaving his headlights on, and in an old car like this, you know, there's no warning that you've done that. So I went ahead and threw one in there. I got this from Scott Drake, and it's actually hooked up to the dome light switch in the door. So if you leave the headlights on and then you open the door, you're going to get a buzz out of that. So just a bunch of little things just to make the car nicer. Now you'll notice here all these connectors. These are all the wiring that's going to head to the back of the car. I wanted to separate that from the main harness just to make installation easier, as well as make maintenance easier. You know, so you've got your engine controls, you've got your light controls, and then this is actually for the power for the amplifier. So that's what's going on here. You know, this is our main dimmer switch wiring. That's just going to drop down inside. And then here, this bundle here, this is actually coming from the driver's door. You know, see, these are all the wires to control the door locks, the power windows, and all that. I don't have the stuff terminated yet, but I've got at least this far, so at this point. Now, the last thing, something that actually took me quite a bit of time to just get figured out. And I know this is getting kind of busy right down in here at the moment, but in this little depression in the trunk area, I'm going to be hiding a bunch of stuff. First off, probably the first thing you'll notice is my main bundle of wires here to run the headlights and the horns and, you know, my brake light switch and all that is now run in this little valley. And if you take a peek here, you'll see there's a little depression I put in here. And if we swing around to the front here, you'll actually see this little cutout, and that is for my wires to exit. Right next to the wires, then you'll actually see the air lines. So up top here, you can see the air lines coming from the valves and the gauges. They actually kind of tuck down underneath here, wrap around, and then I made a couple of brackets here to help organize that. And this is running nice and straight, and then pokes out this little notch in the front again alongside our wires. And now from here, everything's going to be hidden. I'm going to take my bundle of wires here, and they're actually going to be tucked up into this little depression here, so the gas tank is still going to fit in there. And then from there, it'll get routed to wherever it needs to go. Then the air lines will kind of be doing the same thing. The rear air lines are going to drop straight down. They'll go into the tunnel here, and then they'll head to the back. And then the front air lines will just get routed alongside the wires wherever they need to go in order to reach the front airbags. Up in the front, I also have decided that this is where we're going to be mounting the air tank for the suspension. Now I know that Air Cooled says you should put it, they recommend putting it under the back seat, but we're not going to be running a spare tire in this car because we don't have a desire to do that. I figured this would be a great place to mount the tank. So then I've got my air lines will run straight out from the tank to the pump, and then from the pump up to the valves. And then I've also got a couple wires that'll come in here to hook up the switches. So I think once this is mounted solid, it's going to be pretty slick here. So you can see that's where the wires are going to be running in this little valley. You can see the air lines running down through here. And again, pretty slick the way it all exits out here. And then the last things you front and center here are these boxes here. And these are actually the control boxes for the LED lights that we're going to be installing. The halos around the headlights. They're going to be controlled by Bluetooth. So we've got one control box for each halo, and then we've got the Bluetooth controller, and this is all plugged in. And now again, you can see that it's sitting in this little valley. And I know you're probably wondering at this point, what, you know, if we put carpet or something over that, this is all going to be vulnerable. Well, actually, what I'm going to be doing is, once this all gets tucked down flat, I am going to be installing a plate that's going to cover all of this. So basically just an access plate. So I'll put a couple of tabs in here to screw it down, and that plate will extend, you know, right up over the top of this and across. And all of this is low enough that when I put a straight edge across, it's not contacting. You know, so we'll put a couple of supports in here that is going to run up far enough to go past this front cover, and it'll run all the way down to here. So all of this will be completely covered, safe from any damage, you know, from dropping stuff in the trunk and whatnot, and should make, again, for a pretty neat install. You know, once we get some carpet in here, get all this covered up, that's going to, I think, should look pretty nice. We will cover this black panel, this access panel I had on here. We'll cover that, and probably something similar to what we're covering the rest of the trunk in. And then the last thing I'm going to do after I get all this wiring sorted is I bought some ABS plastic sheets. I bought 2x4 sheets, and I'm actually going to be making some side covers to go right here. And what they'll do is they'll actually tuck in behind the hood prop rod here, and they're going to cover all of this, well, ugly. And then the carpet that we're going to lay in here is going to wrap right up into here. The carpet will actually tuck up into this little channel. So when you open the trunk, it's going to be a nice, clean, upholstered trunk. You know, the air tank may or may not be visible. I haven't decided what I'm going to do on that. I'm thinking I might put an access panel here, or cover here, to cover up the washer fluid bottle, the brake fluid bottle, and the tank. That's to be determined. We'll see what happens. But really, when I picked this up from Kurt, one of his complaints was that the trunk was just ugly. In fact, here's what it looked like when we first picked the car up. You can see the Volkswagen wiring just kind of strewn all about, which is kind of typical on these things, as well as it was never painted, so it kind of was on the ugly side. You know, so I think once this is all upholstered, it's going to be something that Kurt's not going to be ashamed of. And in fact, you know, you get to a car show, you pop the hood open, and I think if I do it right, it should be pretty clean and pretty impressive. Now, I've had some people ask me why I'm working on wiring now at this stage. I mean, I've got a ton of body work that still needs to be completed. And frankly, the reason is because of all the changes I'm making. Because I'm rerouting everything. All the original holes that were in the inner fenders here, if they're not used, they're going to get filled in, blocked off. And then because of this routing I'm doing around the underside of the gas tank, I actually want to weld in some tabs to help hang the wires on. So I'm just going to go with a bent metal tab, just like they did on the original car. In fact, there's one up in here, just some thin metal that once I get my harness in place, I can just bend the tabs over and it's gonna hang on to it. I really wanted to get all of this stuff sorted now, so I know where I'm going to be drilling holes, where I need to put the mounts for the wiring and all that. And really, I want to have all of that complete. I want the wiring system working. I want the lights working. I want everything routed where it's going to be. So when I do actually get the car painted down the road here, I don't have to worry about drilling new holes and messing up any of that stuff. So really, it's all this pre-work that's just going to make life much easier down the road. I thought it was going to be pretty fancy, rerouting things like this, and I tell you what, I think what it's done, it's going to be pretty neat. However, it's just been a lot of work. The fuse panel and relay box, I had to completely wire that myself, and I put a lot of kind of trick things in this, some fancy stuff that You know, just took some figuring to make sure I could get everything routed correctly and wired up correctly. So it was a lot of extra work, but in the end, I think it's going to be a really clean, finished product and should be pretty slick. Along with all the wiring that we've been doing, I did get the gauges completed, and I'm hoping I'll be able to put a video out on that sometime soon. I have a bunch of footage, just nothing stitched together yet. But if you take a look here, I don't have the fuel gauge in just yet, but I do have the air gauges. They're just kind of set in place, and the speedometer is just loosely set in place. But they are done, and everything's functional. I double-checked everything. And in fact, you can see I pressurized one of the gauges here just to make sure it holds air. And I don't have any of my fittings, you know, really tight or tested. And this has been like 6 weeks. It's been holding air pressure. So that's a pretty good sign. But again, that gauge is done. Once everything lights up, it really turned out pretty slick. So that's kind of the update on Kurt's bug. I know there's been a lot of other things I have been doing, but nothing really showable right now. Everything's kind of hidden. I do have some parts I'm still waiting on, stuff that's been ordered. It's been a couple weeks, but hopefully we'll be getting that in the next week or so, just to keep moving us forward. But if I can get this wiring wrapped up, which I'm hoping I can get done now, maybe in the next week, then we can start getting back to some of the mechanicals and some of the body work. But that's where we are on Kurt's bug. You know, really, it's you know, working on it every day, just the same thing over and over. So not a lot to report other than just the tediousness of all the wiring. I did mention I had to do some work on my 55. I didn't have to do work on my 55, but I don't know what the weather's been like in your area, but it's been really hot here in the Midwest. And I just got tired of driving this thing in the hot, steamy weather, so I put air conditioning in it. In fact, when I first put the car on the road, I did put an air conditioning unit under the dash. I just never got it hooked up. And I was just tired of it. You know, driving with the windows open down the highway with wind noise and all that. I really wanted to finish it off, so I went ahead and spent some time, got the air conditioning buttoned up, and you know, it wasn't a hard job, but it took me a couple of days of, you know, working here and there to get it wrapped up. But I will again later, once we get going on videos on this car, I'll kind of show you what I did and some of the decisions I made and why I made those decisions. This box, we won't worry about that. We'll talk about that later. But that's kind of what we've been doing on this car. Really, more just to keep the thing comfortable. So that's kind of all I got. I know it's been a long time, and I've gotten a lot of messages from people wondering what's going on, wondering if I'm still kicking. And I've got a lot of comments on videos that I need to respond to. I've kind of been putting that stuff off because I've just been so busy. So if you've made comments and I haven't responded, I will. Hopefully I'll do that here in the next couple days. And you know, this is where we are. It's just work, you know, amongst trying to get this stuff done and then just a whole bunch of other stuff that's gotten in the way. That's, you know, it is what it is. But hopefully things are going to calm down here to the point where we'll get some more stuff up here on a regular basis, and you'll see it here. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and really, until the next one, I'll see you around.